You ever witness a major historical event and wonder, how is it going to be remembered in a few centuries? The former OpenAI engineer Suchir Balaji would blow the whistle on the company for violating possible copyright laws. Now, logically, you would think they would protect a whistleblower with laws because, that's something important to society. We kind of need to know what's going on in companies. Now, he would end up suspiciously dead in his apartment in November. Sound familiar? Remember the Boeing whistleblower and what happened to him? Balaji allegedly committed suicide in his apartment in San Francisco on the 22nd of November, having his body eventually found on the 26th of November. Now, of course, the authorities say there is no evidence of foul play whatsoever. His parents aren't buying it. So let me fill you in on who this man is really quick. As described by his mother, he was naturally gifted in programming, attending UC Berkeley for his bachelor's and master's in computer science, where he would get a 4.0 GPA the whole time. This is how he would know about the alleged copyright infringements, working with the AI brain in its data collection. As we all know, the way it collects data, it reads off the internet, and then it recycles it, and that's how it learns. He would pick up on, it may or may not be reading some things here that we probably shouldn't have it be reading. So it does seem very suspicious that such a gifted programmer would commit suicide just days after his 26th birthday. Now, in the days leading up to the alleged suicide, he was on vacation backpacking in Catalina. As he would eventually return home, everyone who knew him said he was extremely happy and there were no signs of suicide whatsoever. Because of the questionable results, his parents would go on to request a private autopsy. A lot of people are saying the information provided does not link to a suicide. Now, I was not able to find the official autopsy, nor could I find the autopsy given by the private investigators, but I was able to find an article that talks about some of it. The first thing we get is from his mother, where she said, quote, "We have the facts with a second autopsy, head trauma and signs of a struggle. This is not a suicide, it's a murder." This brings us to how his mother said he allegedly had documents against OpenAI. What shines a lot of light on this whole thing is she went on the Tucker Carlson podcast. Yes, that's the political guy, but this isn't political. She would say on the podcast he had documents against OpenAI. These documents were eventually given to reporters, making him somewhat of a threat to the company. According to the Carlson interview, he did not like the inner circle at OpenAI. Balaji allegedly hated Sam Altman and wanted to work with his sister on non-profit work. This is the same sister that would accuse him of sexual assault, by the way. And speaking of Sam Altman, he's the pal of the new mayor of San Francisco, the city where all this happened. To go even further, a lot of their suspicions come from the footage from the apartments. Oh yeah, there's pictures of the aftermath. So we can see
they tried
here,
to clean it.
He's looking at the apartment, and this is where the dried blood is, right here outside the door. You can see how all
what is
it
that bag
stretches.
there?
None of this, this is everywhere, and this is just, it's all over the apartment.
See, it looked
all
like he
over
tried to
everything.
grab the door.
Seems suspicious to start off with.
See
but
that
just
big
keep
pool of blood
watching.
back there?
That is the clump of hair that a lot of people think was from a whip. So not from a
Crawl
twin.
this way, I think.
Now, the official report says that was a gunshot wound to the head by suicide. But as you can see from the image, that seems a little bit suspicious here. And also, according to the Carlson interview, his mother would say that the bullet did not sever the brainstem, which the original report said it did, allegedly. Also, the private autopsy said there's no way this could have been a suicide angle from the bullet because it was coming in downward, so that would mean he would have to hold up like this. And that doesn't even make sense why you would do that. You can see his mother's clearly onto something here. Not all of this is adding up, and I think it's very suspicious. So he would originally leave OpenAI in August, giving a very short window between him leaving and what would eventually happen. Now, also, the New York Times wrote articles about this all the way back in October. He saw artificial intelligence as a possible threat to society and wanted to create ethical practices with it. Another major red flag that people are questioning here is how the police handled the whole thing. On the podcast, his mother said she was spending multiple days trying to contact him, then multiple days trying to contact the police. The police would not check on him other than to just knock on his door and then just say, not our problem, when he wouldn't answer. On the day of the discovery, the police arrived at the apartment at 1:09 p.m., and the parents would not know that their son was dead until 4 p.m. They also told the parents less than a half hour after entering the apartment and finding the body that they hadn't entered the apartment yet. Now that is somewhat alleged that we don't know that for a 100% fact, but I think it's very interesting to point out here. So I find it very suspicious that the police possibly lied about this. Like, why would you cover up so much? The big one, however, is how the police failed to collect proper evidence at the crime scene. Also, the apartment complex didn't have security at 2 of the entrances, so they just said they couldn't tell if someone entered the apartment or not. And you may be thinking, well, police usually aren't that good at investigating and businesses do kind of suck sometimes, so there's nothing too big here. The funeral home said that it didn't seem right with how everything was looking, and these are people that deal with reports and bodies on suicides all the time. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that they hadn't even seen the body yet. This was purely based on the report that they said, this doesn't seem right. And one last crazy detail, according to his mother on the podcast, is at 10 p.m. his last browser search was for a black cat. But now for the segment you've all been waiting for, my opinion. Now I want to make this as removed from politics as possible because that gets us nowhere. I tend to think this is very suspicious, and I really hope either the police or at least the private investigator will do proper research and find out what happened here. Now, I would love for your thoughts on this. Please comment down below your opinions and what you think may have happened. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. It means the world to me. I love doing this. Get me to my goal of 100 million subscribers by the end of the year so I can buy the Bop House and turn it into a Renaissance art museum. Anyways, peace out. Well, the New York Times is fucking that you have to pay $1 to read an article. I am paying that. Off.
Let's go.